just to your point about the president believing that Iran was a house of cards that just needed one swift push to collapse, where did he get that idea?
He could only have gotten that idea from Benjamin Netanyahu. That's it. Because the CIA analysis has been consistent over the course of decades. We can't just fire a couple of rockets and take down a government in a country of 93 million people. That's just not the way real life works. They're going to rally around their leadership because we're outsiders.
And just, you make the point about history, but I mean, I think you could, Saudi is probably in competition, but I mean, of all the countries in that part of the world, Iran is the most durable. I mean, it's a real country.
It's a real country with a proud history stretching back millennia.
Yes.
I have a lot of Iranian American friends, some quite close, and they never stop talking about the history to the point where I have to say, please, can we please talk about something other than, you know,
The
Cyrus
Persian
the
Empire.
Great, please, and Xerxes, and I just can't anymore. I need a break. But that's how proud they are of their
You don't
history.
see that with, say, Kuwaitis.
No.
Right.
Who, you know, God bless them. I love Kuwait
Oh,
too.
me
but-
too. I'm not
but
against
they don't,
Kuwait.
They don't have a history.
No, right.
No.
So Iran, of all the countries maybe in the world, that would be high on the list of ones that's pretty hard to beat.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so even I know that. And I'm
And the country's the same size as Western Europe.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just launch a couple pinprick strikes and the whole thing falls apart. It's the size of Western Europe, 93 million people with a forbidding topography on top of it all.
for sure.
So yeah, it's
So
not easy.
we go in on February 28th and Iran does not, strictly speaking, control the strait at the outlet of the Persian Gulf. There's unimpeded shipping. The 6 Gulf states are thriving. Iraq, also in the Persian Gulf, is pretty peaceful for Iraq, you know, or whatever. It's fine. We're not reading about it every day. Things are fine. Now they're not fine at all. How are they restored to fine?
Only through diplomacy. That's it. Whether we like it or not, especially whether the Israelis like it or not, we are going to have to sit across the table from these people and come up with an agreement. It's going to be an agreement that we are not going to be 100% happy with. But that's what diplomacy is all about.
Not happy with, you mean Iran will be more powerful at the end of this than they were at the outset?
I think that's an inevitability. We have forced the Iranians into the embrace of the Chinese and the Russians and the Indians. And we're going to get to the point where we're just not going to be able to stand up against that kind of an alliance and make meaningful gains. Just think about this. Iran is a BRICS country, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, plus, you know, South Africa and Argentina and Iran and a couple of others, South Korea. Eventually, using the European Union as their model, they're going to come up with a unified currency. It's probably 20 or 30 years down the road, but it's going to happen one of these days. That will be the end of American hegemony in the region, because as things stand now, all oil transactions in the world, almost all, are done in dollars, right? The famous petrodollar. Well, a year ago, Kuwait sold a shipment of oil to China for yuan. And the Indians, a week ago, paid for a shipment of oil in yuan. So we're already seeing the cracks in the dam. And then just blasting the place is only going to make this inevitability come sooner. I think it weakens us.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's definitely the end of something profound. So, but what are our military options at this point?
I'm not sure that there are any viable military options. I mean, God forbid we should target the civilian infrastructure. That's a war crime. It's actually very clear in international law. You can't bomb the civilian infrastructure. You can't bomb the electrical grid or the water treatment plants. You can't. We do, but it's a war crime. You can't do it. And so what are we going to do? Just keep blasting the IRGC? Okay, well, where's that gotten us? They're survivors. It hasn't led to the collapse of the government. So when are we going to finally come to the conclusion that what we're doing is just simply not working? Maybe we can wrest some concessions from the Iranians across the negotiating table. Maybe we can figure out how to use their closeness with the Chinese and the Russians to our benefit. I'm not really sure how, but maybe we can get there. But we're going to have to let the diplomats do what diplomats are paid to do.
I don't think we have any left.
No.
I mean, all of these negotiations have been run by non-diplomats, real estate developers.
I'm glad that you brought that up. I had made a mental note to raise that, and I forgot. We have almost no U.S. ambassadors in the 6 GCC countries: Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. Most of them were relieved of their duties a year ago and have never been replaced. And so there is no Philip Habib to go from country to country right now, as there was in the 1980s.
Why? Why do we have no ambassadors in our most important allies?
I think the president concluded that these ambassadors were not fully bought into his foreign policy, and he withdrew them short of tour. They were all professional diplomats. They were not career diplomats, not political appointees. And the department just never named new ambassadors.
It almost seems like this is an intentional effort to destroy the United States by our own government.
Feels that way, doesn't it?
Yes. The president said, well, 2 things. One, that we destroyed Iran's nuclear program in June. Mm-hmm. But you're saying that
obliterated it.
That there was no nuclear program.
There was no nuclear program. They had partially enriched uranium, certainly, which under the NPT they're allowed to do. It's subject to United Nations inspection. They were not.
But there was no nuclear program in June.
No nuclear weapons program.
So nuclear weapons program, right. So we destroyed the nuclear weapons program, which doesn't exist. But then in February, we were told again that the nuclear weapons program is absolutely real, that the threat is imminent.
Yes.
People go on television on Fox News and say Iran can lob an ICBM into Miami and obliterate the United States.
You know, I'm glad that you brought that up too, because that is also not true. And a lot of people are saying it. The Iranians did something recently that was interesting, in that they took 2 of their medium-range missiles. They stripped them down to the point where it was just the missile and the engine, and that was it. There was nothing inside of them, just to see how much distance they could get. And they made it almost to Diego Garcia, which is far. So if you instead point them toward Europe, yes, without anything inside these missiles, they could reach Western Europe. That's not a delivery system. That's just smoke and mirrors. They can only go that far if they're completely empty. If you weigh them down with explosives, or God forbid with nuclear material, even if it's just to make a dirty bomb, they can't get that far. They could get to Cyprus. They could get certainly to Israel, and easily to the Arab Gulf countries. But there was no threat to the United States.
So the IC, the American Intel community, those 18 agencies you referred to, did anybody in those agencies say to the president, this is a major threat, the nuclear program in Iran?
The people that I still talk to at the agency say specifically no.
No. So that information, that lie, came from Israel?
Yes.
Right. Why would a president believe a foreign intel agency before his own?
I don't know. That's really the $64,000 question. You recall in the first term, when President Trump met with Vladimir Putin, he did not take his intelligence people into the meeting with him. Putin took his intelligence people into the meeting with him, because the president said he trusted the other side's intelligence people more than he trusted his own. And I get it. I get that he believes that he was under direct threat from, the deep state and the John Brennans of the world. I understand that. But I'm surprised that feeling, that belief has held over all this way into the second term, where you would believe the Israeli information before you would believe your own people's information, especially when you know that the Israelis have a vested interest in you doing their dirty work for them.